take this seriously. God is the owner of this planet, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think this planet can throw its creator out and never hear anything more about him?
Impossible.
Oh, it's big stuff, isn't it? Oh, I know there are going to be new heavens and a new earth. God isn't finished with physics and chemistry. That's old Greek philosophy that teaches that. Don't you know, said Paul to some Christians fighting with one another like children? Don't you know that the saints will rule the world? Not unto angels has he subject the world to come whereof he speak, but somewhere someone has said, what is man that you are mindful of him? That's the inheritance. It's not simply salvation. It's inheriting the world. Is that big enough for you? I think it's important, and I haven't time to do it in detail, but it's important that we grasp this, that the promise to Abraham, and I'm reading Paul, Romans 4 again, that he would be heir of the world did not come through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. There are untold exciting things waiting for us. I'm not going to unpack it, I'm going to leave it to you, because we've got to move on. But let's notice at this juncture, standing on the mountain, trusting God, the man is assured, utter assurance. I meet so many people in middle life, and they've never really grasped this, even as Christians. They're constantly trying to earn their acceptance with God. They haven't understood the gospel. That the whole basis is that God does us something, and all we have to do is receive it and not earn it. It needs to permeate our souls, doesn't it? Because sometimes we get so confused. We feel that it's our Christian work that's earning us acceptance with God. And we're stressed to pieces from inside out because we're driven by uncertainty. And it's worth asking ourselves, just individually, am I driven by certainty or uncertainty? To know that we're accepted by God, quite independent of who we are, is one of the biggest things in life, isn't it? That's what keeps life stable. But now we come to the negative lesson. I wish I didn't have to talk about this, but in a way, it is so important because Abram had to learn positively what it means to trust God. He had to learn negatively not to trust himself and what the New Testament calls the flesh. And now we have 3 from chapter 16 to 19, which have to do with the topic of the flesh from 2 perspectives. Our flesh is a very tricky thing because there's religious flesh. And then there's the other side, the seamy, immoral type of flesh. We meet both of them. The stories are obvious in a way. God has promised a child, and Sarah hasn't got a child. So she thinks up a scheme of how to get a child. I mean, after all, God needs a bit of help. We've got to be realistic about these things. God has promised it. So it means that we need to look round for solutions to this intractable gynecological problem. So she looked around, and according to the custom of the day, the best idea was surrogacy. Interestingly, that idea is introduced, isn't it? That needs a big discussion, doesn't it? But it was acceptable at the time. So she took her Egyptian maid, and she puts a lovely spiritual gloss on it, doesn't she? She goes to her husband, Abraham, she said, "The Lord has prevented me from having children." So it sounds very spiritual, doesn't it? And so she suggests that Abram takes Hagar, the Egyptian servant girl, as wife in order to have children. The text says, interestingly, and Abram listens to his wife. That little phrase occurs in Genesis 3:17 and nowhere else. This is a rerun of the fall, ladies and gentlemen. Her offering her husband the fruit where God said no. Her now offering her husband the fruit where, but the text leaves us open. Is surrogacy a good thing? Or is the introduction of foreign genetic material a thing that can cause endless trouble? I leave you to judge from history. The text does not comment. It's a
Let me know what you
rerun
think
of the fall.
in the comments.
The same issues. And that's why Leon Cass says Genesis tells you in one sense what once happened, but it tells you what always happened, because we're always being brought up to this question. And then in another way, it's a mirror image of the account of Abram denying Sarai in Egypt in the previous section. There, Abram asked Sarai to deny her true relationship with him, and she obliged and was taken as a partner for Pharaoh. Here, she's prepared to deny her true relationship as Abram's wife and encourages him to take another partner, an Egyptian. And this time, it's Abram who obliges Sarah. In Egypt, he was moved by fear and the desire for wealth. Here, she's moved by feelings of shame at her barrenness. And in neither episode do Abram or Sarai show any interest in their own future as husband and wife. The episodes are moved and motivated by calculation rather than lust. Sarai had hoped to be built up by the child, but when Hagar got pregnant, she despised Sarah. Introducing alien genetic material is a massive bioethical problem in our age, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm glad there are experts here who are busied with it. It's one of a complex of very difficult problems. Because I do not want to sound remotely unsympathetic to women whose makeup physically has prevented them from having children. The desire to have a child is a very deep thing. It's part of the creation order, isn't it? And we must show every sympathy to those whose natural expectation in life has not been fulfilled. But we need to take this story seriously. Solving the problem in the energy of the flesh, in the way in which we think is wise, retrospectively isn't always seen to be the best thing. And of course, instead of simplifying life and realizing God's purposes, they learn, Abram and Sarah, a bitter lesson of what can go wrong when you use others as instruments to further your ends rather than treat them as people with significance in their own right. We need to have a lot of sympathy for Hagar, ladies and gentlemen. God did. He didn't dismiss her or ignore her. And Abram tried to get rid of the problem by telling Sarai to do what she liked, hoping this will calm her fury. But it doesn't. She overreacts. She deals harshly with Hagar and sends her away. What a tragedy. Hagar's lost her home. Sarai's lost her maid. Abram's lost his wife that's produced his child. There's a big lesson, isn't there? Harshness, injustice are no way to deal with the consequences of my own wrongdoing. And isn't it so true to life that when we do something wrong, we can so easily overreact and damage others and injure them to crawl our way out of it when the whole thing is proceeding from our own self-pity and our own knowledge that we are the ones that have done the wrong. And Hagar's supply runs out and she despairs. Who can she turn to? Perhaps she was already having thoughts of returning. After all, she knew how Abram felt about his son. He loved him. And then she hears the voice. Where have you come from? God inquiring after the geographic location of a person has only happened once before in the Garden of Eden. Where are you, Adam? Where have you come from? Hagar's learning about Psalm 139, which I love, and Sally does too. You know my down sitting and my uprising. Hagar discovered that this God was interested in her, not simply in Abram. He was interested in her, and we mustn't forget it. Theologically, we mustn't forget it, that when the New Testament uses Hagar as a metaphor, that is saying nothing about the fact that God was interested in her spiritually and physically. And indeed, God promised to bless Ishmael when he was born, and out of him would come a
whole new
nation.
People, yeah. And God did exactly that. He followed through with his promise, and Ishmael was blessed and taken care of, wherever they went. So it's truly a testament to show each and every single one of us that whatever God promises, he will fulfill. He never remains indebted to anyone. He doesn't owe anyone anything, because any words that he releases, he will fulfill. So my challenge to you is, what has God promised you? Based on what we've just heard from John Lennon right there, what has God promised you? And you feel like it hasn't yet taken place, and you're starting to feel despair. You're starting to feel like your life doesn't seem to be going anywhere. There's a delay or there's a glitch. There's almost something that is, you just feel like you're almost moving backwards in life. And that is a scary sight, or it could be a very scary feeling. But I'm here to tell you, everything happens in the correct time. And with God, there's no wrong timing. There's only perfect timing. So it's just because your time is not here yet. When it's your time, trust me, you're going to be reaping what you sowed God knows how long ago. God says, don't forget, God says, my ways are not your ways. So he works in his own time. But let's see what the comment section is saying on this video. Okay. I have watched Professor John Lennox debate the science versus God debate on many accounts, but to watch him preaching the word like this, wow, he is one of my new heroes of faith. Thank you, Prof. John, for a time as this. I have been truly encouraged by God's Holy Spirit working in you. It's true. When you're seeing him debate, it's a different sight. Then when you see him preaching like this, you're like, oh, wow, okay. He knows what he's talking about, I guess. I've listened to this series so many times, and yet here I am again in 2025. Amazing stuff. So all the comments are overwhelmingly good. I was trying to see if there's any sort of, anyone leading towards, not debate, but like going down the other end, saying, okay, how about this? If God done that? Well, that type of stuff. But everything on here, absolutely amazing so far. So yeah, this is a video 8 years ago, but it still stands up until now. But I thank God for this video anyways, and I thank God for Professor John Lennox, because he's an amazing man of God. Let me know which video to check out next. Hopefully this video blessed you and you enjoyed it just as much as I did, and I'll catch you guys on the next.